The fire is still burning. The walls fell only hours ago. Smoke fills the air, thick and heavy, mixing with the smell of blood and burned stone. Screams echo through narrow streets as families run with nowhere to go. A temple that once felt eternal collapses into silence. Children cry, elders stumble, soldiers shout orders in a foreign tongue. No one fully understands what is happening. They only feel one unbearable truth. The world they knew is ending. How did an entire civilization arrive at this moment? This is the beginning of the Babylonian exile in the 6th century BC. Not just the fall of a city, but the collapse of an identity. Jerusalem has been conquered, its kingdom erased, its leaders, priests, and skilled workers torn from their land and forced into exile. This event did not simply destroy buildings, it shattered a way of life and permanently altered the future of a people. History often portrays Judah as weak and decaying before its fall, but this belief hides a deeper truth. Before the catastrophe, Jerusalem was still alive. The temple stood at the center of daily life, both spiritually and economically. Markets bustled, rituals filled the air with song and incense. Pilgrims arrived from surrounding regions. The people believed their city was protected, chosen, secure. That belief made the collapse even more devastating. The 6th century BC was an age of connection. Trade routes linked distant empires. Ideas, goods, and armies moved across deserts and rivers. Babylon was not a distant rumor. It was a vast, organized, and wealthy power at the heart of this interconnected world. Judah depended on this system to survive, yet the same network that brought prosperity also carried destruction. Success itself laid the path toward disaster. The origins of the catastrophe did not begin in Jerusalem. They began far away, in the fertile plains of Mesopotamia. Babylon was rising quietly and methodically. Its armies were not driven by chaos, but by strategy. Conquest was not only about territory, it was about control, displacement, and breaking resistance. Exile was not accidental, it was a deliberate tool to erase rebellion and reshape identity. The moment of contact was brutal. In 582 BC, Jerusalem fell. The temple was looted and burned. Stones cracked, sacred objects vanished. But the deepest wound came afterwards. Chains were placed on priests, scribes, and leaders. They were forced to walk hundreds of miles toward Babylon. Each step pulled them farther from everything familiar. The promised land faded behind them. Only uncertainty lay ahead. The tragedy spread slowly but relentlessly. Surrounding towns emptied, fields went uncultivated, roads filled with refugees. In Babylon, the exiles were scattered, intentionally separated to prevent unity. Jerusalem fell silent. Where prayers once echoed, only wind remained. This was not a swift ending, it was a prolonged unraveling. People struggled to understand what had happened. Some believed their God had abandoned them, others blamed corrupt leaders or broken laws. Prophets offered conflicting visions. Some urged submission, others promised swift deliverance. Faith, once stable, became fractured. Every explanation felt incomplete. Fear replaced certainty. Social bonds began to collapse. Families were divided. Laws rooted in the land lost meaning in a foreign empire. Identity, once anchored to a temple and soil, had to be reimagined. In Babylon, some exiles became laborers, others slowly adapted. The greatest fear was not death, it was forgetting who they were. Desperation gave rise to extremism. Some groups hardened their beliefs, drawing sharp lines between themselves and outsiders. Others searched for internal enemies to blame. Suspicion spread, division deepened. When everything is lost, certainty becomes dangerous. Even faith can turn into a weapon. The devastation did not stop at the cities. In the countryside, villages were abandoned.
Irrigation systems failed, crops rotted in the fields, nature reclaimed what humans left behind. Animals returned, ruins became shelter for dust and silence. The visible and invisible worlds felt the weight of exile. Over time, the catastrophe began to fade, not because it was defeated, but because it exhausted itself. Children were born who had never seen Jerusalem. Pain became memory. When return finally came decades later, it was not a restoration, it was a transformation. The world after exile was different. Faith no longer depended solely on a single place. Written texts gained new importance. Identity survived beyond land and walls. From loss emerged resilience. From destruction, adaptation. Looking back, the parallels are unsettling. Forced displacement, cultural loss, identity under pressure. Have we truly learned from the past, or do we repeat the same collapses in different forms? The Babylonian exile was the moment a people lost everything except the ability to endure. And perhaps that is why this story still matters, because in every age, civilizations fall, but what survives defines who we become. To understand the present, we must keep listening to the echoes of the past as we move forward, era by era, into the next chapter of human history.